All right, so this is the dealio. We were actually going to have a Q&A today, but you know what? We figured it's been a little while since we did a training, so we didn't think everybody would mind a little training today. If anybody really minds the training, just let us know, and we could scrap it. But if you guys are up for a little training, we're up for giving a little training. And then we got a really nice announcement at the very end. I think a lot of you guys will be really happy to hear it. And that's actually for all of you guys that are involved in Surf Spike. So hopefully you guys don't have a busy night planned. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But all right, what we're basically going to do today is this is an SEO overview guide to ranking, local versus national pages. One of the questions that a lot of people actually had, I've been getting emails and everything else in reference to, what should I be focusing on now in reference to local, if I want to do local clients, what should I be doing if I want to do national clients? Much of it's the same. There are a lot of big differences and then subtle differences between the two. But the problem is that a lot of the stuff that people have been doing is just, it's extremely ineffective to what Google's actually looking for at this point. So, the whole PBN, the whole, and Jake and I have discussed this, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So, a lot of times what happens is people put up a PBN, the PBN gets whacked, and they go, okay, well, the reason why the PBN got whacked is because of the fact that, there was a footprint. I did something wrong. Okay, I'm just going to do it differently this time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, and that's really not the answer. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of give you guys a guide to just go through. We're going to give you guys a guide to just kind of go through some of the major points of what you guys should be doing. Now, this isn't an exact blueprint, but most of you guys have been doing SEO for quite some time, and really SEMeasy isn't for the brand spanking new SEO guy. Just got into SEO last week. It's a little bit of a higher nature. Most of our members are they're pretty savvy as far as most of the stuff goes. So what we want to do is kind of give you the overview of some of the things that we really should be focusing on.
So with that said, welcome to SEMeasy.
Yes, with that said, welcome to SEMeasy. Any of the new members, we had quite a few new members joining over the last couple of days. Welcome if this is your first stop into one of the SEMeasy webinar trainings.
All right. Look like PowerPoint came on top of the questions. There we go.
There we go.
All righty.
Let's just bring up. Okay.
Let's jump on to the next slide. So we're going to be doing a SEO overview guide to ranking local versus national, and we're going to be covering the secret to ranking, which we pretty much covered extensively. If you go back, watch any of the past trainings, past webinars, you'll see what the overall thing is. And Andrew, you want to explain?
Sure. It's a real simple formula. If you don't know it by now, get out a piece of paper and a pen, or open up Notepad and just write it down, right? So there's a simple equation, right? Authority plus relevancy equals rankings. Now, the problem is that each one of these pieces have slightly changed over even the last 2 years, 1 year, 6 months. What is authority, what is relevancy, and what is rankings, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of focus on everything on the left-hand side of the equals, because the rankings are pretty self-evident as far as what rankings are, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to break down first into local SEO, and we're going to kind of go into what's going to make your site relevant, what's going to make your site an authority. All right, so local SEO is probably the easiest way to jump into SEO. It's probably the easiest way to make money within SEO, and it's the fastest way to make money. The problem with local SEO is that it's usually the budget is usually the issue, right? So when you're dealing with a local SEO client, it's not like you can wind up charging them $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month. You're sure as hell not going to be able to create them a Facebook page for $19 and then upsell them to a $5,000 a month package because they're doing local SEO. There's only a certain amount of market reach that they're looking for, and there's usually only a certain amount of budget that actually applies to what their online marketing and digital ad spend is actually going to be. And, the truck right on time. Actually, no train yet.
No
We haven't had the
today.
train yet. All right, so
Service audit.
So the first thing we're going to do is, in reference to any sort of service offering, is an SEO audit. Okay. Now the SEO audit is going to be exactly whatever it's going to be in whatever format you want to. Now there's two theories of thought here, right? The first theory of thought is that it's done before before you actually engage with the client to figure out exactly what the client needs. The second school of thought is pay me to do the SEO audit, and then we can work out the scope of work that needs to get completed and everything else. So what we usually like to do is I like to actually do my SEO audit before we engage with this is what it's going to cost, this is what the work scope is going to be, because it changes me from saying this is my expertise, hire me, versus this is my expertise, and I'm going to show you why I am the expert. All right, and there are some people that say I'm not doing an ounce of work until I get paid, and there are other schools of thought that say I'm going to put skin in the game in order to close this client, and in order to be able to show my authority and my expertise within the marketplace. And I can tell you, by doing your SEO audit ahead of time, and it's not a very difficult process to go through, and I'm going to go through it real fast. You will actually close a heck of a lot more clients by doing the SEO audit ahead of time versus, trying to get them to pay for the SEO audit. Jake, any?
No, I mean, it's pretty simple. We've gone over it time and time again. If you educate the consumer, they're more apt to buy your product. So you're selling SEO, and you got to differentiate yourself. You have to educate the consumer and explain why you're different and why you're better, and do it without being demeaning or insulting. And it's a sales process and something you have to learn.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, running your own SEO business is it's not like doing SEO.
No, running an SEO business and doing SEO are two totally different animals. And Jake and I have really learned that throughout the process I've learned it over the last, I can't even tell you how many umpteen years. But as you start to step it up in the process, you'll start to realize real fast that running an SEO business and actually doing SEO, like I said, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, get a job.
Yeah.
If you don't want to run an SEO business because you don't like the business side of things, get a job.
Exactly. All right. So, moving on. What do you need to crush local SEO SERPs?
It's actually gotten easier and easier these days to actually crush the local SEO SERPs. It used to actually be where, guys used to think, oh, well, I got to get a PBN set up, I got to do this, I got to need backlinks through the yin yang. The big problem is that backlinks, as we all know, is the one focus that Google is looking on and will continue to penalize websites for. So it's not all about backlinks by any stretch. I used to create a document, and some of that document I actually put out to a lot of people. It used to be, 20% on-site SEO, 80% off-site SEO, and that's just not the case at all anymore. It's more of like a 20% off-site SEO and 80% on-site SEO, and in that on-site SEO also falls your group and everything else. So I guess if you're going to grab your group and you're going to move that to an off-site, maybe a 50-50 mix then, sort of?
Just about. It's yeah, I'd say it's fairly evenly split, but you got to make sure that you're well covered both on and off site. That's pretty much the point.
Absolutely. All right. So these are actually what you're going to want to create within your SEO audit right off the bat. All right, because we want to know what the scope of work is. So the first question you got to find out is the website penalized? Okay. So we're going to want to ask questions. Has anybody done SEO on the website before? And actually somebody's asking the question, what do you mean by group? I'm going to get into that pretty heavily today because that's honestly what is ranking most of the websites at this point. So part of your SEO audit is the website penalized, okay? And it's pretty easy to find out if the website's penalized. Go to Google, type in site : put in the domain name. If it's not indexed and the site's been around for a while, chances are the site's been penalized. If the website's not coming up for its own business name, chances are there was a penalization, all right? You should actually take a look at the backlink landscape because that will tell you if you think that that will be a pretty good clue about whether they were a candidate to be penalized or whether they weren't. You also want to know in reference to a backlink landscape is, Did they just get rid of an SEO company that just bombed their website with links, and now all of a sudden they're going to be penalized under your watch? It just hasn't happened yet. You also want to know what competitive advantages you have of maybe different backlinks out there that maybe a competitor would never be able to have. So it's really important to kind of analyze that backlink landscape and just get the concept of, am I going to be penalized? Does it look like we're going to get penalized? And if a site's penalized, guys, we don't touch it. It's over. I mean, at least as far as that domain is, it's over. We've successfully brought a couple of websites out of a penalty, but it's a ton of work. So if I'm looking to go out there and I'm looking to hit local SEO customers and I'm not looking to get bogged down, if the website's penalized, we move on. If the backlink landscape looks, halfway decent, doesn't look too bad, then I'm going to have to go in and try and do a lot of work in order to be able to, make sure that we offset a lot of the spam links that they already created. Then we move forward. So the first thing we want to do is we want to really, after we look at those two, right, and that's pretty easy. If anybody's doing any work at all at this point, all right, we're going to look at their on-site SEO, we're going to look at their off-site SEO, and we're going to look at their NAP. And I'm going to get into NAP first because in reference to local SEO, it's the #1 reason why websites are ranking. Frank actually discussed it on the SEO show, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. But it's the whole name, address. Actually, I have that. My slide is wrong. It's actually name, address, phone number because I'm an idiot and I put my slide decks together quickly.
Place is the same.
And I have places the same, right? So it's actually name, address, phone number. And it must be exact. So the first thing you're going to want to do, all right, in reference to anything, is write down the business name, write exactly how you want it to show in the SERPs, whether it be an LLC or whether it's not an LLC. Actually, bring me up a piece of notepad real fast, if you would.
You want to type something out?
Yeah, I want to type something out for everybody.
All right. Can you type here? Nope.
No, I can't type there.
All right.
So just bring me up. Hold on 1 second. You may have a ton of...
Yeah. We'll just open Notepad. All right.
So here, in reference to Notepad. Now, I'm going to type in, let's say, we're going to just use Se3Me, okay? Now, whether I use capital letters or lowercase letters, somebody's asking, how is important is NAP if you're truly global website in the holiday market? We're talking about local SEO right now, so we're going to get to like a national SEO afterwards, and we'll explain that. But if I'm putting in my business name all over Google or all over third-party properties, Yelp, Yellow Pages, Manta, all of these different websites, okay, I want to make sure that my NAP is exactly the same for everything, okay? So Sesame Street, all right, New York, 10023, 888 555-5555. Now, the reason I put this in Notepad is because if I'm going to have a VA doing this or if I'm going to be doing this myself, I want to be able to do a cut and paste, okay? So what I want to do is I literally want to copy this exactly, and when I'm filling out any sort of form, whether it be on Yellow Pages, Manta, any of these things, okay, I want to copy and paste right out of here. Because if this time I use a period and the next time I don't use a period, or next time I don't use a comma, or I put in a period, or I don't put in the ink at all, or if this time it's street and the next time I enter it I just put in ST or ST period, and this time I put in New York like this, or next time I don't put a space in between here, or let's say I do something like this for one of them. We want to make it as easy for Google as humanly possible to be able to connect all the dots. And we're going to look at Google like they're really stupid at this point, all right? And that they can't connect the dots unless we give them the exact, put the numbers right above the dots, the 1, the 2, the 3, just like your kids used to do when they used to create those little puzzles that used to have the 1, 2, 3 and the little dots. And by the time you were done, it drew like a freaking lion or something, right? So what you really want to do is you want to make sure that it is exactly the same regardless of where, what site you put it in or whatever else. If I want to use it this way, then that's fine. But I'm going to use it this way and this exact way every single time, okay? Now, if you're a local business and your NAP is screwed up across all of the different, yellow pages, screwed up on Manta, screwed up on everywhere, okay? Well, then what you're going to want to do is you are, in fact, going to want to go in there, make sure that you should have had the listings claimed already, go in there and make the edit, all right? Now, you might be asking yourself, well, how do I know which format I should use? Should I use this, or should I use this, or should I use, street, spelled out, okay? Whatever you have on your website, and then what we're going to get into, whatever you have on your Google Plus business page, they both have to add up, and then every other one needs to add up from there. So what you're showing Google is that your website is the hub, and that all of these other third-party sites that you're going to be listing on, Yelp, White Pages, whatever, they're all part of the quote-unquote group, all right? You're going to want to make sure that when you put your website address down, it's in the same format. So if you're using the www, you want to continue using the www and then not use if it's not using the www, you don't want to use the canonical the next time. You want to make sure that all of your data stays exactly the same. This way it makes it very, very easy for Google to be able to connect the dots of the NAP, all right? The NAP is basically, think about the NAP as local citations, okay? So if you're going to go out and you're going to buy local citations for your website, you want to make sure that what you're providing, the service provider that's going to create those local citations, if you want to outsource it, that you're providing them the same exact way that it's displayed on your website and the same exact way that, you basically have in your filed notepad. All right? And we're not going to overcomplicate it. It's just the easiest way in the entire world to make sure that you're all good. Now, you can go out there and you can use a company like Yext, all right, and Yext will basically control all of them for you, and then you don't have to worry about it. So if there's ever a change, for instance, you change your address, you move from one office to another, you simply go to one hub, which is Yext, and yes, you're going to pay for it, but they're going to just change it across all of those different websites, right? And that's gigantic, because as far as we're concerned, time is money. All right, so next on that list, right, you got the NAP, and we've gone over, the next thing is your on-page SEO, all right? Once again, 50% of the equation as we're discussing. So we've already done all of this in the on-page SEO, but just a real fast recap, you want to make sure that your title tag is optimized, your description tag is optimized, H tags are optimized, images optimized, video optimized, content all thoroughly optimized. You want to make sure that they have a sitemap. Site structure, maps. Maps is questionable, you don't necessarily need it. It doesn't hurt, especially with local SEO. National SEO really not needed as much. An outbound link authority, potentially, let's say you can link to your county's government site. You can link to the local association for whatever. Schema and URL slug. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a look during your SEO audit to make sure that all of these elements exist, and if they don't exist, you're going to point out that there are deficiencies within the on-site SEO. It's going to do two things. It's giving you the roadmap to know exactly what you need and the scope of work that needs to get done, and it's also telling them that you know exactly what the hell you're talking about, all right? And it's making you the expert, all right? Yext is Y-E-X-T. Somebody's asking what Yext is. All right. So in reference to offsite SEO, and once again, my slide decks are slightly screwed up. So schema markup is obviously an on-site. Yeah. All right. But your map listing, do you have a local map listing? If you don't, you got to secure one. Pretty easy. Google Plus business page. Okay. Do you have a solid group foundation? Now I'm going to get into what a group is in just a couple more minutes. All right. YouTube videos, that have YouTube videos that are actually, that they're trying to market for their business and everything else. And if they do have a YouTube video, that NAP should be right in the description. The name of their business should be right in the description, and a link to their website should be right in the description. All right. So you're talking about, the offsite SEO. You want to basically see what have these people done. All right, if they haven't done anything, then you have two issues. A, you have a lot of work to do, and B, they might not understand why all this work needs to be done. If they have some of it, then you may have a different scenario. They may have run out of budget. The person that was supposed to be doing it dropped the ball, or they just have a lot of holes within their SEO, strategic, their strategic plan. They miss things, and that happens quite a bit. So all of this is part of your audit. Now, at this point, basically, the audit stops. So you could turn around to the customer and say, look, you know what? Half the problem, I believe, is, if they had a decent backlinking profile, everything's looking really good, you can then turn around and say, look, your backlinks look really good. Half the reason why you're not ranking is because some of your on-page stuff. I think that if we rework your title tags a little bit, we mark up your images, and we put some schema in there, I think it'll push you from, number 6 to number 1. These are the different things that, a business owner, if you're sitting down with them and you start to explain to them, you need to do this, and this is the reason why you need to do it. We also jump in a little bit further in depth, and we take a look at some of the competition and say, look, this is what the competition is doing. You could be doing this, which is better than your competition. You could be doing this, which is the same as your competition. Or, if you don't do it, then you're doing less than your competition. The best way to sell is to constantly be showing them that their competition has flaws, right? I mean, that's a great way to sell.
Yeah, they stand to gain a competitive advantage over their competition.
Every single time. And it always makes somebody, an SEO or a business owner, feel very positive to the fact that they feel as though they may be way behind the ball. But if you show them that there are holes in even their competitor's strategy about what they're doing, all of a sudden, two things happen. A positive spin comes out of it, that they're looking at it going, hey, you know what? Maybe we're not left too far in the dark. And B, it gives you a good pathway to know, all right, these are the certain things that I need to focus on.
Yeah, and C, it establishes your own authority.
Absolutely.
All
right. So we're kind of done with the SEO, with the actual SEO audit phase. But now what we're going to do is when the scope of work actually gets built out, we kind of realize what needs to be done at this point. We're actually going to just back up the slide deck here a little tiny bit, because all of these different things that we were just talking about, okay, it's all these different things that we were talking about now actually need to get implemented, all right? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at, for instance, we realize that their NAP is all screwed up, all right? Now the first thing that we realize that part of the work scope is that we're going to have to go in there and we're going to have to fix that. So you've got to figure out how long it's going to take it. Let's say if they have 20, references, either the business owner has the access to them, makes it really simple for us to fix it, or now you got to start to go out and claim these things and everything else. Because just remember, however long you think it's going to take for you to do something,
it's going to take you 5 times.
It's going to take you anywhere between 3 to 5 times longer than what you actually project it's going to take you to get done, because something's going to pop up. So one of the things that might pop up is that he doesn't even have any access to these, or he had access and it was through an old SEO guy, and now you've got to figure out ways to be able to start claiming these things, to start cleaning all of that up. All right? So that's part of the work scope you need to sit down, you need to figure out. He needs to understand why it's so important, because otherwise he's not going to be willing to pay you if he doesn't understand why it's important and what the benefit he actually receives, or she actually receives, out of cleaning up the NAP, or out of building out more of the NAP. All right, so now we can move forward again. So the on-site elements, once again, if they don't have anything in here, this is your checklist. Make sure that they have it, okay? Google rewards those websites for profile completeness, all right? So if you're like, well, I'm ranking, but I don't have a sitemap, and I don't need a sitemap in order to rank, well, guess what? Put a sitemap in there, because Google is expecting to see it, and it's going to crawl your website much easier and much better. And you know what? You may have a competitor that comes along and says, hey, they're deficient here. I'm going to plug this in, and boom, you take them out. Back in the day when like Hotbot was the big, it wasn't even a search engine. It was like a quasi search engine / directory. All you used to have to do is optimize your site just slightly, resubmit it back to Hotbot, and boom, you jump above your competitor. And then he'd take a look and say, oh, this guy missed this. So you'd go back in and you'd make a slight tweak. You click submit and you'd pop above him. And it was just constant going back and forth. The same thing actually holds true today. It just takes a little bit longer for it to happen. But if your competitor sees that you don't have your description tags in order, all your description tags are the same, your title tags suck, you're not using H tags, your images aren't marked up, you know, once again, they're going to try and drive straight through all of your deficiencies. So you really want to make sure that you've got all of the on-site elements completely down, because you control every single one of these on-site elements. If your on-site elements aren't at 100%, well then shame on you, because your off-site elements, things that you can't control, they might not be at 100%. So you got to control the things that you can control right off the bat, you know, because there are going to be things that you can't control later on down the road. So in reference to off-site SEO, if they don't have a map listing or the map listing is wrong, once again, you got to go in there. It's got to be fixed. The Google Plus business page, same thing. If the information is wrong or the information isn't complete. If Google's asking you for, you know, up to 8 pictures, put 8 pictures in. If Google's asking you for your business hours, put all your business hours in. If they're asking you what type of payment you accept, whether it be credit card, Visa, MasterCard, fill in every single thing that you possibly can. Now, don't fill in something if you don't offer it, okay? Like, don't say that you accept Diners Club if you don't accept Diners Club. You know, Diners Club, kind of dating myself, right? But, you know, but you've got to fill in every section that they're asking, okay? Now, a solid group foundation. A group foundation could start, especially with local business. Local business, a group foundation is your Facebook page, your Twitter page. It could be your Yelp page. It could be, obviously, your Google Plus business page. Basically, it's any page that if you type in the name of your business that is starting to show up within page 1 or page 2. It could be as low as your Manta page or a white page or whatever else. So you want to make sure that, once again, any information that you can get on those, they're optimized as much as humanly possible. And you want to make sure that, once again, they connect back to your website. We've come across companies that not only was their group screwed up, Google was actually identifying their website with a completely different group. There was a different company out there that Google was associating themselves with, you know. They weren't going to get the authority at all that they were going to possibly need to rank. YouTube videos, same thing. That's why we want to put the NAP in there, and we also want to put a link back to the website, you know, and some solid information and reference to the company itself. All right. So once again, this is just the foundation of what you're looking for. The solid group foundation is really, it's not something that should just be created and left alone. You should be visiting those. You should be optimizing those, because you need people to funnel through those in order to get to your website as well. It's almost, think about your group as your new PBN, if you will, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving forward. If we're looking for backlinks, if we need backlinks, if we've done everything else and we're still not exactly where we want to be, okay, we're going to look at some backlink sources. Now, we're going to look at some safe backlink sources. We're going to look at you creating your PBN through other sites that already exist. And I know that there are other marketers out there right now that are discussing this after we've talked about this, what, 3 months ago? All right, but what you want to do is any backlink that you're going to be putting on a website anywhere, what we actually do now is we go out and we'll actually create, there are these websites, if you're new to this, there are websites that are actually news websites, but they're contributor based news websites. So they want news from, you know, their membership, and they want, you know, news not from really their reporters, from like stringer reporters, if you will, that are willing to write articles in reference to things. Now, the reason why these links are so great is because, you know, first of all, you're going to get some people that go, oh, the PA and the DA are ridiculously high, and we don't even look at the PA and the DA. What we look at is that the user metrics on these websites are through the roof. And what Google is looking at right now is they really don't give a rat's ass too much about PageRank. If you have a PR5 website that gets 0 traffic, it's a spam website. If you're linking from that website back to yours, that's a spam link. I would much rather have an actual page that has a PRNA, if you will, but actually has some user metrics. If you actually sit down and construct an article for one of these websites, first of all, you just sign up, join. The first couple of articles you're going to put out, don't put any links in them at all. They should all be like, you know, very sort of objective articles or factual articles about a company or about an event going on or whatever else. Not promotional because you're going to get your account banned, all right? Or in reference to a subject where maybe the owner of that company was quoted, and then you could put a link back to his website because he was the owner of whatever, whatever. And as long as it's relevant, the backlink is absolutely incredible, all right? So, you know, these are some great backlink sources that you can control yourself if you don't want to pay for anything else after this, all right? But if you want to do it quickly and efficiently, what we're going to do is we're just going to write up a really good press release. We're going to pop out a press release. And with the local website, if you have your NAP in place and you've got a bunch of local citations, you have a map listing, your Google Plus page is in order, and you send out a press release, as long as your website also has a good schema markup on it, there's really nothing else you need to do. Everything we showed you in here is almost overkill at this point. It really is, because your competitor's not going to be doing any of it. You're talking about a local restaurant that you want to rank. If you're talking about a local, you know, anything, a service-based business or whatever else, everything that we just showed you in here is overkill. Now, you know, you want your map listings. You want your map listings and everything else to start popping. You want your website to start showing up, you know, absolutely all over the place. Outside of those news or the press release backlinks, you know, local citations, and we just outsource them. Go to localcitationbuilders.net. Once again, I have no affiliation. You won't see an affiliate link. Be listed. You know, we had a bunch of people that tried Be Listed. I haven't tried Be Listed yet, but their pricing, both of them, their pricing is comparable. And, you know, you don't have to crush it. You don't have to do 300 citations if that's not natural for your niche. All right? I would start off with a smaller package, and then you can always build yourself up over time as you need to. But, you know, what you're going to really want to do is, you know, just follow that roadmap right there. And if you're not ranking, come to me personally, and I will take a look at everything and tell you why you're not ranking at that point. All right? Jake's shaking his head. Don't come to him because he still has a ton of stuff left to do. But, you know, local citations, this is just the point that puts you straight over the top. Some people may say local citations and the map listing plus your website and some schema markup and you're done. I like to put everything else in place, and then I like to use my local citations as like that last, just crush the competition and just put them away. And you will, okay? And basically on the local, you're done. So there's really not, it may seem like a lot, but we actually blew through that pretty quickly, right? In 10 minutes, we kind of blew through all the different things that you needed to do there. You know, if you're going to be doing an SEO audit, what I would do is I would actually just make yourself a checklist and go right through the checklist. Did I have a sitemap? Did I have this? Did I have that? Little check marks, boom, 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 done. And now you can come back to the person and say, look, this is where you're deficient. I wouldn't leave them to pay work so they can sit there and try and do it all themselves, but say, look, you know, this is approximately what it's going to cost in order for us to engage. And that's it. Outside of the things that we showed here, you don't want to be putting up a PBN. You don't want to be doing all these things because I'll tell you what, if you've never done it before, go to a customer or have the customer, even better yet, have the customer call you and say, my website's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's, you know, and have the business owner say, listen, you know what? I understand you were trying to do your job, but why don't you explain to my family how I have no more money coming in because my website just got de-indexed. You know, this is the extreme safe way that Google is looking for. Jake and I have been ripping through, we're up at about 50 patents at this point.
Yep.
Each one of the things that we've listed here, and there's more stuff, but we're testing out some of the more stuff, but every single one of them plugs one of those holes that Google is actually looking for within the patents.
To a varying degree. You know,
yeah.
It's like they're all different variables, and some of them are worth more than another, but they all form one big picture. And if you're missing puzzle pieces or your puzzle pieces aren't the right size, then you're never going to make your picture doesn't look right. It doesn't look right for the search term, and it's not going to make the top 10.
Also, on another analogy, for instance, if you have a car and the car is like, you know, when the car is tuned up, it was actually tuned up to have, you know, super unleaded in it, and now you're popping in the freaking...
Yeah. Even if you're doing it right, you're just not doing
right.
it
If you're not doing it right, you're not doing it efficiently.
You could have the best engine in the world, but if you don't put oil in it, you know.
Right. You're not changing out the spark plugs. You're not doing this. And trust me, I'm not a real engine guy, so I probably shouldn't have gone down the road of. But I kind of did that for Robert's behalf because Robert is a car guy, right? And he understands all this stuff. So if you're looking at a car, and once again, you know, you got all the great pieces of it, but you know, it's just not efficiently done. You're not going to rank. So make sure all the pieces fit. You know, don't run an 8-cylinder engine on 4 of the cylinders and pull out 4 of the spark plugs. You know,
that's not how you make it a V4.
All right. So, is there any questions in reference? Let me just go through the questions real fast and just make sure.
Sure thing.
All right. A lot of things from Frank in reference to Frank wants to make a shout out to his mother, and I'll make a shout out to his mother tonight. All right, let's see. Okay, so how important is NAP if you're looking at a global website? If you're looking at a global website, there's still an importance there, but you're not going to be building out local citations which really require the NAP as much. But, you know, you're going to want to, it's a good rule of thumb to stay with. National sites are going to be looking for a couple of other things as well, which are probably a little bit more important in the scheme of things. But on the local, it's extremely important because Google's trying to identify what your location is. Okay, so what's the next one?
If you have a client that already has set up a Google Plus for Business page, just use that address.
Yes. Make sure that that address actually correlates to the website that the address that they have sitting on their website. They should make sure that that address that's sitting on their website, and Jake will be screaming up and down if I don't say it, is properly schemaed.
Yeah.
Right. If it doesn't have the proper schema markup, then you're leaving a whole lot left on the table. So yeah, if they already have a Google Plus for Business, you want to use that address. Make sure that the address on the website. Make sure that everything is the same. Google's messing around with suite numbers, how they display them. One way in your business and another one publicly. Well, this is somebody saying basically Google's messing around with suite numbers and how they display them, and they display them one way in your business dashboard and another way publicly. As long as you're submitting it the same way every time, don't worry about how Google then presents it back out. As long as you're inputting it the same way every time, that's the only thing that you should really be worried about. Okay? Those are fake numbers I just checked.
It's from Frank. He's talking about the 888-555.
I'm a little slow on the uptake here because I'm a couple minutes behind. Please put Yext in the box. Okay, so you want to just put in Yext. It's Y-E-X-T. Yext. We're going to pop that right in there. Okay, so it should be out to all of you guys. Could you go back to the last slide for a second?
We already did that.
We did that.
Yep.
Agree. An abbreviation, competitive analysis works wonders. It also lets them know what they need, that they need you long term. Absolutely, it does. What press release sources do you recommend? We actually found we're actually going to put out one that we endorse as soon as we actually get. We've been experimenting with all sorts of different ones. What I don't like is I don't like what I refer to as SEO press release sites, and those are the ones that have zero distribution, or their distribution is to their own network of, other bullshit SEO websites.
So like all of them?
Well, no, because there's a couple of distribution networks out there that actually go out to like the real news websites, local cable channels, all that sort of stuff. That's the distribution that you're looking for. There is one on Fiverr. I don't like to build my business based on Fiverr, and that's the reason why I'm like struggling to recommend it, because of the fact that we've used it and it works like a charm. But like, really hard to put something out there that will be there today and maybe not be there in 3 weeks from now. So, you know, that's the only reason why I don't give you that. I'm not going to put out the exact source, because believe it or not, we've been bouncing around between sources that we're using. Is PR Web worth the extra cost? I don't use PR Web. PR Web does a decent job according to some people, but like the press release is ultra expensive, and I don't see the benefit that other resources could actually provide. Need this recording up ASAP. Would like to watch this again. Not a problem.
Lots of questions here.
Okay, so went through local, but what about statewide? Is statewide SEO the same as national? It really depends, because we're not actually referring to like landlord-style sites here or spike-style sites. We're referring to like you doing SEO on your actual, you know, client, their money site. So if they're targeting the entire state, then yes, it's just like the local in some respects, but you may have to mix in some of the national because you're going to have a lot more competition. Yep. That's really, you know, that's the only difference I would look at it.
Yep. We're at this point in the client engagement cycle, as you could call it. We're not trying to pitch them really anything hard. We're just proving that we know what we're talking about.
Right. So it says, what are some of the additional tips for national? That's the next section. We're going to get into that shortly. Hold on. Are there any schema markup services for members?
I mean, there's tons of free ones in the WordPress repository, and we're looking at integrating ones with the semi-easy extensions coming up in the future, but we're heavily focused on figuring out what's coming up next.
Absolutely. Have you tried the shed? It will be...
Bright Local, yep. I actually had a 30-day account there. I just found that all the metrics I wound up gathering don't really add up. You know? I
haven't used it yet at all, so I can't really comment on Bright Local at all as far as their citation building. Yeah. Where do you guys get your press releases? We have them written, or we'll have our client actually write them, or a combination of both. PR Web will call you daily, try to upsell you as well. Somebody's saying that if you use PR Web, they'll call you daily to try and upsell you. Can you give us an exact blueprint of how to set up a state or local site? Yeah, but that's not the purpose of today's training.
Yep.
So we can definitely target that later on, but we're not, you know, kind of off topic of today. How important is content silos, adding new content regularly? Listen, content is extremely important. Site structure is extremely relevant and extremely important. Content regularly.
Drip feeding, it's
Yeah, I mean, listen,
it's not really looked at right now, and if it is, it's such an infinitesimally small variable.
It's actually being looked at because you want to get your websites indexed as much as humanly possible. You know, and by drip feeding content, it's constantly having the crawlers come back to a site. If you're updating it, you know, regularly.
Well,
I mean, that's about the
because the pinger is built in automatically.
But I was going to say, yeah, a lot of that is almost immaterial. Social signal services? No, I stay away from all social signal services. Social signal services, we don't use any of them.
Nope.
None of them.
All right. Well, I guess we're talking about national.
All right, so let's move forward into national. So once again, social bookmarking is dead. We don't do any of it. All right, so hold off on your questions now. We're going to blow through the next section. I'm sure you guys will have more. Okay. Once again, same sort of thing. We're going to do an SEO audit, and I'm sure that some of my slides are screwed up on this one too. So we'll have to.
That's all good.
We've been running on. We actually just flew in again last night and turned around again this morning. You know, we only got home last week, late Thursday. Had stuff going, business meetings all Friday, working through the weekend, flying out again Monday, coming back Tuesday, kicking it again this morning. So we're slightly sleep deprived, and Jake is actually even more sleep deprived. I thought at one point Jake actually on the plane, Jake's his whole head was like kind of resting on my shoulder as he was slightly drooling on himself, and we were having a good time with it. So
I bet you were. All right.
All right. So
SEO audit.
So once
Pretty
again,
simple, guys.
same exact thing, right? we want to see if their website was penalized. A lot of times somebody will approach you because their website was penalized, and they're not even going to tell you because they're going to want you to work, and then they're going to turn around and say, hey, we got nowhere, we got nowhere at all. Well, they're not going to get anywhere if their site was penalized to begin with. So first you got to identify if the site was penalized, okay? Once again, backlink landscape. You're going to want to know what it looks like for all the same reasons for the local SEO. On-site SEO, off-site SEO, we're going to want to put together. And you know what, guys? What wouldn't be a bad idea, we have some documents, but they're very tailored for the type of clients that we're going after. But to just go after and have somebody if somebody here in the membership wants to put together a doc just like this, okay, where it's a checklist of penalized, on-site, and take all and if you want, even just hit us up and I'll give you that slide deck so you can grab, the H1 tags, the next slide deck that we're going to be getting into shortly that shows all the on-site SEO stuff. Just, a one-pager that you can sit there and just check off. They have this, they don't have this, they have this, they don't have this. Great way to just be able to do it really, really, really quickly, okay? What do you need to crush it in the national SEO SERPs? All right, a lot of it, same crap, okay? Title tag, description tag, H tags, images. And once again, you want this on your checklist. Just go right down. Do they have this? Do they have this? Do they have this? If they don't, it's got to be added to the scope of work of what you're going to do for your client or, what they need to do for themselves if you're not interested, all right? So what you're going to want to do is, like I said, make your checklist, but when you're actually doing the SEO, if anything here is messed up, you're going to want to put it in. Now, in reference to the maps on this one, like once again, somebody was asking about site structure, and it's right there. Site structure is extremely important. They got to have it. It's got to be correct. But in reference to your maps, now, if you're going to be targeting out, if they have like different locations that they're looking to target, then a map would make sense. If not, then the map doesn't make sense. It all depends on the client, the industry, and who they're looking to target, what they're looking to target. The outbound authority link. Don't link back to Wikipedia, okay? Link back to, once again, somebody extremely hyper-relevant, but is so not competition. So, for instance, if your client is a member of the National Association of
Rockets.
Right, rocket scientists, then, you want to link back to the National Association of Rocket Scientists.
They're from NARS.
And if they have a profile on that association page, you want to link right back to that profile, okay? That's where you want to build these authority links to. Once again, if they make sense. We actually use a lot of our map listings as a link to an authority outbound link because it's linking back to Google. So once again, we kind of nail it that way. Once again, schema, it's huge. It's a gigantic opportunity that, and Jake and I have started going through the internet, right? And we've come across SEO companies that make it sound like, well, like you said, it's like brain surgery in order to mark up a page with schema.
Yep.
And they put it into verbiage that you're like, wow, what are they talking? Like, they're fucking talking about schema. Yep. Holy crap, this shit is so easy, So it's an opportunity that chances are, we'd probably say what, 98% of the competition out there is probably not using.
Yep.
Would you say 98%, 95, 98?
They're either not using it or using it improperly or not using it to its
full
advantage. Yeah.
All right. So once again, these are the on-site elements we're gonna push forward. Once again, I copied this. So once again, the schema markup doesn't apply. So we can cross that out, Jake, if you want to cross that out.
Oh, I'm gonna change tools over here to a pen.
To a pen. All right. We're gonna. Oh no.
No, it's out.
There we go. Okay.
Oh,
so
now it's back.
So once again, Google Plus page, a solid group foundation. Now the solid group foundation is very different for a national than it is for a local. And we're going to get into that momentarily. Once again, YouTube videos, great idea. Make sure you put your NAP in there. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And yeah, it's fairly straightforward.
It is fairly straightforward. But where it differs is really that group. So
jump over.
Yep. So once again, backlink resources. Now, with a national site, you could be a little bit more aggressive with this. Okay. With a local site, you don't want to be too aggressive with this at all. Once once again, you can go ahead and these are just some of the websites, and there are plenty more out there just like them, but you can definitely be a little bit more aggressive with how many you're putting out there. And just because you put out one on a news website doesn't mean you can't put out another one that's targeting a completely different angle, all right? So once again, the press release, it's the core foundation. But once again, you can ramp up the press releases. You can put out, 2 press releases a month rather than just one total for a local. You may need to do 1 a month. You may need to do 2 a month. Once again, you can ramp this up, but every press release should be targeting a completely different angle of traffic and different, audience that you're looking to attract to your website. The reason being is if you're going to take that press release and try and target it to a different audience, your keywords that you're going to rank that press release are going to be completely different.
Yep.
All right. So one of the best ways to start creating that group, if you will, because once again, for a local website, your group is going to be your yellow pages, your white pages, your Facebook, and some of that applies with the national, but it's very difficult to get newsworthy, and really high-end links from high authority websites, which is on a national level potentially is what you're going to need most of the time. So this is a great little resource called helpareporter.com. Now it can become extremely painful at times. What you do is you sign up for a free membership. You fill out your entire profile, and you're going to actually want to do one of these for each one of your clients. You're going to pick on which. Let me just see this real fast. If I have a pen, the pen work?
No, you got to switch over.
Gotta switch over here.
No, there. Yep, there you go.
So, for instance, I may want to say.
It's on the left screen.
I might want to say, all right, my guy is high tech and business and finance. This is what I want to find out about. Okay. So what this does is it connects a reporter to you or potentially your client. All right. When a reporter is writing a story on, I'm looking to speak to somebody who's the owner of a website that does, business to, B2C, and, what their feelings were about whatever, this year's holiday trending online or whatever the hell they're asking about. What you basically want to do is you want to try and get your client, or if you're doing this for yourself, as much press time as humanly possible, because that article now becomes a major part of your quote-unquote group. All right, Google now associates this article with your website from a newsworthy source. All right. The other reason that you're going to want to do this is for the ultimate authority in reference to anything. You're going to need newsworthy resources, okay? And we'll explain why in a couple of minutes. But what you're going to be doing is, if you have a client that is, let's say, they're doing business for something. I don't even know what. If they're doing business for something, whatever the case may be, okay, if you can tee them up and say, listen, you know what, I got an article here, and how this works is that they'll send you like 2 to 3 emails a day, actually usually 3, and you've got to kind of weed through the emails and see if something will fit for your client or not. You can actually take that, then tee it up to your client and say, listen, contact this reporter, or you can contact the reporter on behalf of your client and get the ball rolling and set up a phone call that the reporter can then speak to your client or whatever else, okay? Once again, it's a great, great, great opportunity for them to get exposure that they would never, ever, ever be able to get otherwise. You can't just call up, Business Week and say, hey, I want to be on your website. You can't call up Entrepreneur Magazine and say, hey, write a story about me. But what you can do is you can find a reporter, or they can find you, that's already writing a story, and you see how your story can fit with it, okay? The next thing here is, the Wikipedia business page. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to most scenarios. It's not very easy to get a Wikipedia business page. the business needs to be newsworthy in order to get a Wikipedia business page. That's it. So, but if you have a client and they are a newsworthy client that other people are discussing them, go ahead and create them. Create them the stuff that they need to be created. Create them a Wikipedia business page. It actually shows right in the SERPs, and we've discussed that, multiple times before. But this is showing like ultimate authority here, guys. I mean, if Google's willing to put it in their, in
the SERP.
In the SERP right here, it's telling you. And once again, I just clicked on this, and this is the pop-up, and you guys can probably do almost any industry and find it. And you'll see the little link to Wikipedia right here. When you get that, you're sort of at the pinnacle of, trust within the Google within the Google ecosystem, because it knows that Wikipedia is going to weed out those people that don't belong there to begin with. They're the gatekeeper on basically that type of link. Once again, just like anything, Wikipedia, any of those press release sites that would keep the promotional language out. Facts. That's what they want. They want facts. They don't want promotional sketchy language. All right. So this is another question that gets asked all the time. So you know what? Like the company that I'm working for, they've got great press, but there's not a link going from that back page back to my client. So it doesn't do them any good. And that's actually not the case at all, believe it or not. Okay. Google can actually still associate a page that doesn't have a backlink discussing what's it called? Discussing a company without the backlink. But Google needs to be able to figure out where it fits into the picture. So if your company, or whether it be you or whether your client, if they have a ton of press, but there's no link going back to their website from that press, it's not useless. And what the problem is, most people just throw that away. What you should do is on your website or your client's website, you should put in, like in the news. And what you can do is you can then backlink to that article. Google now makes the association. There's a backlink from your site going to that article. It sees the name of the company or whatever else in that article. It will actually make the association for the group itself. But when there's no backlink, you kind of got to guide Google, as they say, right? You can't just bring Google. You got to bring Google right to the bottle, right to the bowl of water, and then stick its head in the bowl of water and say, drink it. You got to really show Google that it really kind of that it all fits together.
You have to paint the picture.
Right. So if, like I said, if you have media out there that doesn't have backlinks, it's not useless media by any stretch, and most people just leave that on the table. Don't leave it on the table. Create a hub of information about your business, and you can link out to it. Once again, at this point now, it's just a matter of checking the backlinks of your competitor for authority sources, maybe authority sources that you may have missed. For instance, I know that in one of my businesses, like Brown Pages is a huge one, and like I would never have thought to use Brown Pages, but like all of my competitors have it. And then it's just a game of one-upping every single thing. But you really want to one-up it less on the backlink side and more on the on-page SEO side and the schema markup and that side of everything right now. So, in most competitive markets, a limited amount of backlinks, and when I'm talking about backlinks, I'm not talking about press releases, and I'm not talking about, getting a company to write about your company and everything else. I would take one link from Entrepreneur Magazine versus,
a million
crap links, period, the end. And to be honest with you, the lower you keep that backlink profile, the more you're going to stay off of Google's radar of slamming you.
PBNs used to be private. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, now they're public blog networks.
Pretty much.
They are. And that's a simple wrap up for keeping it really, really simple as far as ranking local, ranking national. It's the same thought process. The only real main difference is that on the national, you're going to have a much larger quote-unquote group. All right? And a group is just websites that Google associates your business with, okay, and potentially has a backlink to your website. Not a PBN, talking about other websites that actually exist out there that are, almost directory-style sites in some respects, one way or the other, or solid newsworthy articles linking back to your site. And using the source of Help a Reporter, if you're looking for those ultimate backlinks, there you go. I mean, that is by far the most authoritative backlinks that you could potentially ever get.
Mm-hmm. And it's free.
And it's free.
So, questions?
All right, I'm going to scroll up for some of the questions that were already here.
All right. Alrighty, so you focused on a specific vertical. We focus on our clients' verticals.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're getting paid for. And if you're asking, do we just focus on a specific vertical? No, when we're going out and we're finding clients, it's not a matter of us, if that's what they're referring to. We don't just stay within one vertical, but we stay within, clients that we know, A, need the help, and B, have the budget to be able to pay.
Yeah.
And that's what we're kind of looking for.
All right. Qzx900 is good. Says Opri. Op. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. It's all good. All right. I wish there was a good plugin that did schema markup easily. Noted. Been looking at that for a while now, actually. Nice form. Thanks, Biz. On a national press release, on national should press releases be linked to different inner pages?
Well, this is what I would tell you. If you're going to put out a press release in reference to an event that you're going to be putting out or your client's going to be putting out, link it to that event page.
Yep.
It doesn't need to necessarily go to the home page. Once again, you can actually rank on Google by staying out of the penalty box and letting your competitors go into the penalty box. Those with the least amount of penalties usually win.
It's like tennis. You don't need to force a point. You just need to hit it back over the net long enough so the other person screws himself up. All right. What exactly does national mean? Any non-local websites? What about affiliate sites where the location does not matter?
Yeah, then that would be national.
Yep. That would be national. National is
anything that where you're not targeting a specific geo-targeted area, really.
Yep. Or you're targeting
generic
it on a mass scale.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you were
anything on a mass scale is generally national.
I'll give you a perfect example. SEO company would be national, a national term. SEO company NYC would be a local term. Best way I could say. I mean, that's what you're trying to target. You mentioned a different account for on help a reporter out, right? Well, I did mention a different account. I did mention a different account because what happens is you set up your profile, and you set up your profile in, giving them information about who you are and what you are and everything else. So you don't want to set up one account and basically be like, oh, I'm an SEO company, blah, 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 and then start contacting these reporters who are going to see your profile.
And make their
decision based on you don't fit their criteria. So that's the reason why you're going to want to create a separate account, if you will.
I saw to get on here from the SerpSpike group, is this all the same training that will be in the SerpSpike course?
No.
No,
not at all. No, this is doing SEO to a money site versus...
Yeah, this is how you hook, you could potentially hook a client and start establishing a business relationship.
Well, put it this way, right? I mean, if you come into a vertical and you're able to capitalize on, creating a spike-style site, a landlord-style site, and you bring a customer in because, let's say you gave them a particular state or whatever else, chances are they want SEO on their main site as well. So, you're almost leaving money on the table if you're not going to do the SEO for their main site, or you could do vice versa. You're going to come in, you're going to do SEO for their main website, and then you're going to follow up by being able to target leads that they would not be able to target otherwise. And you follow up with the SerpSpike. I mean, we're just giving you the tools, and we're giving you some of the ideas to create that unique model that other people aren't using. And that's really what that comes down to.
Yep. Good stuff, good stuff. Merci. All right. Any more questions related to the training? let's see. I went to the head, and when I came back, I thought I heard there's no good schema plugins.
No, it wasn't that there's no good schema plugins. We just want to create the one that works for us the best.
Yep.
There are plenty of great schema plugins out there. For instance, if you're only looking to do one or two things, you're looking to mark up like a local website or whatever else, you want to mark up their address, you want to mark up, there are plenty of great schema markups out there, plugins out there. But, for some of the stuff that we create, there is not a plugin that does what we want it to do in reference to schema on NAS levels and everything else. So, so that's something, once again, if it doesn't exist, you got to create it.
Exactly.
Or it doesn't get created.
Yep.
Or it's just a whole lot of work in order to get it done. So, I heard about a schema plugin called Schema Press.
We can check it out and look at it.
There's a bunch of schema markup.
I know Raven Tools has theirs. Yoast has theirs.
Schemapress.com. Once again, I don't know anything about it. I'll have to. I have to go check it out.
So, what is the easiest way for schema markup?
Well, it depends on what platform. Like, for instance, if you're doing this for a client, it's going to depend what platform they're on.
Yep. I think the easiest way to do schema in reality is to go out and learn it and understand it. Don't just treat it like it's something that another plugin creates. Really, you shouldn't be using any tools that you don't know how they work and be using them for clients.
Right.
You got to understand the basics of it so you could expand upon it and actually integrate it with your business and their business.
For instance, you don't want to go out there and using automated backlink software if you don't know what the effects of creating too many backlinks or not enough backlinks or anchor text or whatever else, and say, put this puppy on full drive. If you don't truly understand, all the automation portion is supposed to do is to help relieve you of some of the manual tasks
that you already established.
But if you wouldn't have done it manually, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yep.
So we have a great training on schema if you haven't checked it out. And schema.org really is the definitive
encyclopedia, pretty much.
Absolutely. So that's what I would tell you.
Alrighty. And I guess the last thing to discuss is SerpSpike, right?
Ball's all yours, my friend.
All right. So this webinar went a little longer than I thought it would. About 10 minutes now. Probably be about 15, 20 by the time we're done. In regards to SerpSpike, there's just like a little thing, or really two little things that I'm going to change up, and I'm going to delegate one of the things that I was trying to automate over to Ben. So figured, look, spending so much time and it's holding it up, trying to get this one little piece automated, and I could either spend another 5 hours figuring it out, or it could be an hour's worth of work to do every month. So it's just an example of prioritizing and actually taking stock and inventory of your time and your assets, and
With that being said,
with that being said, don't want to leave you all on the hook. I think we're gonna have a intro tonight at 7:30, right? Yep. So we're gonna have a intro webinar tonight at 7:30 for those who are in SerpSpike already. And
sorry for the last minute, but we didn't want to hold you guys up any longer than as soon as we knew it was going to go, we wanted to get it to go.
So
now, and that will also be recorded. So if there's any questions, basically that's going to be like a, anybody who wasn't there will have it up, and they can actually just go through it. And it's going to just be a walkthrough of the back end real fast. The back end, Jake programmed out, the user interface for it beautifully. There really shouldn't be any questions, but we've learned the hard way that
there's always questions.
There's always going to be some sort of question. So we wanted to just make sure that anybody who wanted to jump on had the ability to jump on, and if not, it will be in fact recorded. And like I said, you guys will be getting in tonight.
Alrighty, and that's pretty much it. Jake, did you get enough sleep for tonight?
No.
Yeah, no. That's the answer, no. But it's all good. I'll sleep well tonight. No problem, no problem.
Somebody has an ugly sweater party from 6 to 8? That sucks.
Too bad.
Is the link to the webinar sent out yet? Nope, it is not. It will be.
Nope. Alrighty. With that said, we should probably work on that and just put that presentation together.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so thank you guys. We have a 92% attentive rate, and we had like a 96 one throughout the entire thing. So you guys are awesome, and yep, 7:30 Eastern, so that's about 4 hours from now. See you all in a little bit. Peace out.